Welcome back to another episode of Duel Alliance with myself, Alicia Solomon, and Megan Hines, where every week we discuss the challenge. We are back to continue our discussion on season 40. We're on episode 2. We finally get to the actual elimination in the invitationals, and I must say, part of it was disappointing, and the other part was to be expected, I think, for the most part. But we get we get a weird kind of vibe coming back into the house. We go straight into the arena. We don't get truly any backstory after we pick up from last week's episode after the deliberation. So we literally just go straight into the arena and we see who's going to be going down in the different eras and, you know, how this is going to happen. We see the actual challenges itself and how they coincide with all of the different eras, which I thought was cool. And I think that the eras in which they got their actual challenges, I mean, were not unintentional because why would era 4 get a hall brawl? I don't know, but yeah.
And why would Ava 3 get balls in? I'm sorry. They gave the brolic girlies and the tall girls the eliminations that would benefit them the most.
I
That
mean,
was
you never know in that situation, and we did see what happened with the men's side on era 3, but yeah, I think what we wanted to get out of era 4, we did not, and what we wanted to get out of actually era 1 probably held up the best. Era 2 probably was the worst just because it was the worst actual challenge itself. But yeah, it was definitely interesting to see. But I did like the format of literally just jumping ahead to the next scene of them, being in the arena and then also getting the context later on in the episode as it went on about what went into making some of the decisions and how certain people came up with them voting someone in or vice versa. I mean, nothing really was unexpected, I would say.
yeah. Um, Especially once you get through like everything. So like we obviously had the losers in Mark and Katie going against Derrick and Aneesa. Um Ryan and KellyAnne from Era 2 going against Brandon and Cara. In Era 3, we had Naya and Leroy versus Tony and Amanda. In Era 4, we had Nurys and Theo versus Olivia and Paulie. And right when we, like, in the beginning of this, Amanda clocked Tori and Cory, the two frogs in the pod. I had to laugh. She gave us another good one liner this episode because Cory's explanation and reasonings always makes it bad for him in the game. And this episode made it even worse because when you look at Era 3, it's mostly Tori, her bestie, and her ex. And then you have Avery and Naya just there.
That's typically every season that she's on. Either one of those three are a part of the season, and so it lends her to try to be more leaning to that person and playing a game that would make it better for that person to get to the final or, get past a certain point. And it's honestly why we have been upset with the challenge for the past couple of seasons. And by the way, this premiere was like the highest rated in like 6 years, which I'm not surprised just given the fact of all of the people that came back on this season. But I'm actually surprised because the promos was kind of given here, damn, like this is coming out and whatever. Um, but yeah, I feel like Cory always plays the same game, which is why he always gets to the final and he loses. And he thinks he's so much better than what he is in terms of his politicking and his social game. And it's not surprising. Like Cory really always craps the bed when it comes to his social game, and he basically tried to tell Amanda, like, you need to, leverage and make relationships and try to finesse relationships with people at this point. And it's just like, I don't like I don't get it. You literally came in the house with this girl. You know how her and Nelson are cool. And again, he really just said, forget Nelson. Like, that don't even mean nothing to me. He's at home with his leg, like, leaned up. Like, what you want us to do? And it's really disgusting because it's just like, bro, I don't know how you even take Cory seriously in anything, which is why I'm never surprised that he gets to the point that he gets to and he always loses.
Yeah, because he doesn't he fails to realize every single time because he only always has like Nelson and then whoever else like they are attached to like with them. But then again, like within like people they know within this era as well, he's always at the bottom of the totem pole anyways. He doesn't move the needle, he doesn't shake anything up. He just goes through waves because of people that he has quote unquote relations with, but he's not their number ones, and he hasn't really won a lot of dailies in the first place either. So he hasn't been in a position of power to really do what makes things right for him in his game. He always does things to appease the other people. Um, so Amanda called him to what I wrote in my notes. She said something. She said it in an Amanda way, but in my notes I wrote it. She basically called him weak, and I wrote that to say it nicely. So yeah, Era 4 also had the beef to settle. We already know from like last season with Nurys and Olivia, and then what we mentioned last week, Paulie and Theo's 5 year in the making beef that's finally getting settled tonight. Also, with Era 2 actually, Laurel said that she didn't want to coach Cara because she's an anchor. And I'm like, this, like we've been saying with Laurel and Cara this whole time, it's a weird back and forth of how the relationship is and how it's come to be, but it gives a weird vibe this go around, especially. Cause I'm like, I don't understand why so much heat when like y'all are always hot and cold. Like you're always good one time and then you're bad one time. Right now y'all are on a bad terms, and I'm like, I don't understand it, and I don't think Cara understands it either. But it's like we're just here to play a game.
It's fresh off of All Stars 4 and basically her trying meddling, Cara meddling in Laurel's relationship and business. And this is, like you said, over 20 years of them really having a big sister, little sister relationship. I think they have a history that it's just so intertwined with each other that, I mean, even up till now, it's like it can be draining to try to understand because at one moment they're trying to get back on track, like you said, and in the next minute they're at war because of something that happened. But it just is honestly draining. And I think the space that Cara seems to be in now, she doesn't really want any of that. And she is not the same like person that makes it easy for Cara to be put down. And then with Laurel, I feel like Laurel has been pretty much the same strong headed person that she's always been. And it really is not going to change. So they're going to be at war with each other at all times. I think it's interesting. Banana's trying to put himself in that mix as well, and being like, me and Cara have basically beef or some kind of, squabble history. And they sort of do because he was definitely a part of that crew that put Cara down and was trying to get her out most of the time. So, I mean, Bananas and Laurel being the two people who won, it just was not in the best interest for Cara this week to not have won. And sadly, even though she came in second, she was right there. She beat most of the other people. That's just how this works. And so, I mean, good for Cara that she's able to stand and hold her own, though.
Yeah. And like we've mentioned, each of the eras are playing in one of the four headbangers from each era, basically, with just either the balls in, pole wrestle, hall brawl, or take shelter, which is actually not so fast. They like changed the name of it. Era 3 is going first, and they got balls in and started off. And obviously, in that pause in, the first person to get the ball in the middle, best 2 out of 3, will win and stay in the game. And we start off with Amanda and Nia, where looking at them both, you would think like, okay, obviously Nia has the edge on Amanda because of the height and agility that she does have, and then you see Amanda small, but she's scrappy. It was going to be a decent battle between both of them because of those two different traits that they have, and I wasn't too mad at the outcome of it. Granted, Amanda will be obviously leaving, but they put on a good fight between one another.
Yeah, I feel like Naya has come back in a different space and who she is, but she's still, I mean, physically who she is. She's 6 feet almost. She's still like in shape from her volleyball days, and she's able to just keep her head down and keep going. Like, although Naya has faults in other parts of her game, I think that physically, if she's able to keep up, then like, I'm gonna take Naya. But Amanda did definitely come out strong, and she was, like you said, scrappy. And I really did like Amanda just because I knew she was gonna try hard. Like, it wasn't even a question if she was or not. It was just a matter of how bad she was gonna lose. But she ended up, getting her point first. Naya missed her point by the ball going in and out of the container. And then, Amanda went on the offense and did what she needed to do. And she, lucked out. And, it's a whole lot of different factors when you got people screaming for you. Again, Tori is yelling and, going crazy for Naya, obviously. And it's just a whole lot. But I will say I give it up to Amanda for holding her own, doing what she needed to do. But Naya should have won this, and she did win this. So, I mean, this is not surprising.
Yeah, because at the end on the last round, Nia literally smushed Amanda, and I was like, "Man, the way she did it!" I was like, just like the hand out, and I was like, "That's a nice little move. I liked it." She used her arms to her advantage, and I really enjoyed that. But it's also funny too that the two big brother men and Josh and Kai are like, "Oh, Nia is hot. She's really good." And I'm like, this is foreshadowing because I already knew that like post show, Nia and Josh had a thing going on, and then there were rumblings that her and Kylan had something going on in the house. So them showing them to being very infatuated with her off the bat is hilarious to me, and she got the pickings to just deal with them two.
I mean, picking with Kylan, I'm not sure why Josh is even. I mean, whatever Ashley said, we gonna go with that because I don't even know why we even playing this game with Josh. Like, cut it out.
And okay, the next group to go was Tony and Leroy. I'm sorry, that just caught me off guard. Um, and
Is it
Leroy
a
really
lie?
thought, no, it's not a lie.
No,
I
okay.
just forgot about that moment. Okay. But Leroy thought that going against Tony would be a breeze, and quickly that man thought that that was wrong because immediately it was a dead ball. Like Tony had that man hemmed up, and then when Tony had the ball on offense, he was moving with urgency to get the ball in, and he was tussling Leroy throughout this whole thing, and Leroy was not doing much. And now
Um,
disappointment.
I'm not sure why he showed up again. Leroy retired in Double Agents. I mean, they tried hard to get Leroy and Nani a win that season. For him to retire and go off in the sunset, I was completely fine with that. When he came back for All Stars, I'm like, okay, whatever, you can try again. You're with your wife, but leaving your wife and your two kids at home after she just had the baby 2 weeks ago, and you literally are coming back within a matter of a month of leaving them is absolutely ridiculous. And I feel like next time, just send Cam. Don't come back because Cam, one, she has the power in the social game that she's going to control a lot of the things, and also physically she can get it done. Like, we don't have a question about Cam, we always have a question about Leroy. And that is just always my issue, is that he just cannot get the job done. And he always, I feel like this episode as well and last, they were trying to make it seem like, oh, the best guy to never win it. And it's like, you cannot be the best guy to never win it if you're literally not the best guy. Like, let's cut it out. There's no moral victories. There's no like 1A, 1B in a situation. Like, no, you've never won, and you literally wasted everyone's time coming back. Like, I don't even know why I was rooting for you, because it was disappointing to see. But shout out to Tony Time getting it done. I think that, him coming back now and having that issue with, Cory still is going to be an interesting dynamic on that team. Hopefully they can work together, but I doubt it. I think that era has a lot of things to work out in terms of the dynamic, and then also the randomness of Avery and Janae. Like, it's just a lot going on, but nothing at the same time. So that era is a mess to begin with.
Low key, I forgot Janae was here. That's how insane this is. I forgot Janae was here. Then I just have Avery in my head because Ashley should be here in her place. But that's another discussion for another day. Because Jordan said something earlier, and I'm like, shut up. You did worse than her, and you're harping on that lady. So I'm gonna ease off. But like I said, Tony got the win. Eric 3, Nia and Tony are still here. Era 1 is playing pole wrestle. And started off with Derrick and Mark. And this is Derrick's game. Pole wrestle is his game, and you hear about pole wrestle, Derrick's right there next to it. That's what his legacy is in this game. It's for with that. And at one point to start off, he was struggling to get Mark's hold, but he managed to get out of the grasp, and he had that dog in him. Like Mark is a big guy, taller guy, stronger. But Derrick just like locked in and was able to get the hold off of Mark in the pole both times. And I was like, this is really your game, Derrick. Like, you was doing your thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting because we didn't know that this was the game he was going to play. And obviously, him going against Mark, it was very questionable and very honorable, to be honest, that he did that for Terrell. But at the same time, I'm glad that he did get this game, because, I mean, that was just really his calling and saving grace at that point. And he definitely had a strategy. He went with it, he stuck with it. And him and Mark were flipping upside down. Mark was doing wrestling moves, going tumbling on his head, doing all kind of foolishness. And at the end, I think that it did come out to a good battle. But we have to remember, Mark is a smooth 52, and that is not an exaggeration. Like, Mark is older, and he's not gonna have the same pep in his step as Derrick. As, I mean, I don't think he should, but it's like, you keep up. We don't know, but
Yeah.
shout out to Derrick for coming back and winning. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then the women's side, I also thought was absolutely hilarious, because I was fearful for Katie. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, Aneesa is a big woman. And I'm not trying to be shady or anything like that. Like, Aneesa is just physically bigger than Katie. So I was concerned, like, Katie is not gonna stand a chance. But when Katie in that first round held her own, like, she was holding it down, Aneesa was trying her hardest to try to get that pull from Katie. And when I tell you, Katie pulled out another wrestling move. Like, I don't know what they was on, but Katie pulled out a wrestling move, put her whole leg in Aneesa's head, like, in her whole head. And I was like, hold on. Everyone was so shocked. Everyone was like, wait, what? Like, this is Katie? Because it was so impressive to see. Like, no, I don't think anyone expected that. I know Katie was like, this is her mom's strength, blah, blah, blah. But girl, that is some next level kind of moves she was pulling on that. And again, the size that Aneesa has over her, like, for her to even get that on Aneesa was like super impressive.
Yeah, because immediately when I saw that, I was like, damn, Katie. Like, I didn't know you could do that. Like, I knew like she had like some sort of strength, obviously because she's a mom, but like I still knew she was like physically fit to his father, I knew she had a chance, but I didn't think that she would be like be totally done with Aneesa in this one. I knew like she would kind of give a fight because Katie's also one of those people who is a bit scrappy as well. So I knew something of the sort would come from her in this. I just knew once like we saw Aneesa, like okay, she has a better chance of winning this because she has more strength over her. But Katie held her own against Aneesa in this because she was knocking Aneesa around at some points too. Not only with that leg lock, but she was knocking her around a lot. I was like, dang. Then Aneesa decided to just start to sit on Katie, basically, and that's how she was able to get her edge advantage on her and win this elimination.
Yeah, and I mean, Anissa is like now saying she's 42. She understands the game. She understands what she needs to do, and it's like, girl, maybe you should have did this 20 years ago. And that's again, no shade, but I feel like Anissa, again, was being propped up to being one of the better women who's never won. And it's like you can't not be put in that category when every single time you're either injured, you're not taking care of yourself, you just straight up lose. Like you don't make it to the point that you're supposed to make it to. So I guess like shout out to Aneesa for coming back, and then we also got a moment of a flashback in that Aneesa scene with Rachel and why she was upset with Rachel going in. But again, the difference with Rachel was just like this is not the season you're gonna play with Tori because she was crying to Tori in that scene, and Tori would have been the one to try to save Aneesa and probably been politicking around, but Rachel wasn't on that type of time, and I respect her for it. At the end of the day, CT is gonna keep putting her down if she has the opportunity to keep going down. So I think Anissa needs to step it up this season and try to be in the mix of winning things so that she's not put in that position.
Yeah, because like every time she's like, "Oh, he don't like me." Well, you don't bring anything good to the table. I'm so sorry. At this point in your challenge career, you just come and rely on your friends that are in power to keep you safe, and you fumble the ball every single time. So of course, in a sense, at this point in this game, when you're here with the top 40 people that they pulled for your era in the show, you are at the bottom of the total pool because you are not the best of the best. I'm sorry. You're just the longest tenured person here on the show. That's why you're there. So step your game up and lock in. And don't be crying because you don't have help. You have help, but they can't help you at this point in the game. Like once later on in the season, if she's still there, she may have help. I don't know. But in this stage of the game, when it's just you and your era, they know what to expect from you and they want you to perform well. You just can't meet those expectations. So that's on you to be better every single time you come. Because we've been saying this for the last couple seasons. And now that she's around people that have known her for the last 20 years and they see her perform horribly, of course you are at the bottom of the totem pole. That's it. So, but good on you for winning some nation, but just be better. That's always his message of her is be better. And she can't do that. She's just stagnant. But Air 4, they got the Hallbrow. And this is where bees start getting settled. Like we have a friendship. They already had a breakup. And then obviously, like we mentioned, Paulie and Theo's 5-year beef in the making is finally getting settled in the sand. And Paulie and Theo go first. And Paulie not only just wanted to like kind of like settle the differences with Theo, but also be able to stay and be an ally of Cara because it's a lot of people against her in the house, and he wanted to be there to help her be better and not pay them no mind. He wanted to be the peacemaker, to be there for her in the house.
Which I mean, you cannot be at this point because the people in the house hate her. So you gotta be smarter than that. Paulie came back last season a bananas ass and thought that was gonna hold him over into this season. And Paulie has high expectations and seems so higher than really what he's played out to be early on in his seasons. He was like, "Oh, I went 3 for 3 finals and da da da," which I don't think is factually true, but go off, sis. I think when it comes to Theo definitely has put on more weight since we last saw him on War of the Worlds. And so I think Theo was ready to go. And Paulie really, I don't even know where to start. Like when that first hit happened, and Theo really like they had the headbanger and they smacked into each other. I was like, yes, over for Paulie. Like I just don't see it. Theo is physically stronger. He has the endurance and he has everything that it's gonna take to take Paulie down. And I really thought Paulie may have a chance. Like I was really excited to see this, but as the first hit went on, I was like, yeah, no, this ain't it. So after the two and Theo came back and Theo screaming like that's how we do it in the UK, blah. It's like, bro, relax. Like I understand like this is your moment because you're coming back again because you came back in USA too, but you're coming back again to try to make a name for yourself after literally crying and parading on Twitter for the past 5 years about not being called. So I get it, but it's also like this is only your first elimination. Like you did what you needed to do. Congratulations. Like shake that man hand and go stand up in the sand and keep it pushing.
Yeah, he pulled a AI and Tyloo at the end, and I had to laugh. That's my only note. Because honestly, like you said, he trucked Paulie, and then like at one point he just took like 3 steps toward and the second one and got the button, and then he literally just walked over Paulie, AI style. And I was like, that was that. I that wasn't disappointing. It was just it is what it is. Like Paulie got like he's a little chunky in a good way, and then you have Theo who is a ex Olympian of sorts, Olympic athlete. It they're the difference, but then they're also the same. And I was like, the way that he just struck to him was like bad things. But Theo won that, and then we get to David and Goliath of Olivia and Nurys, and Olivia just plowed through her, and that was the end of Nurys's time basically in the house.
I mean, Olivia is bigger than Nurys, I would say, obviously. So I would hope that she would have some kind of advantage over Nurys, but also Nurys was very disappointing in this elimination. Like I feel like Nurys already lost before she even started. She was already crying. She, had made amends with Olivia, quote unquote, and didn't really want to keep having this moment drag on after last season. And she really just was, I don't know, she was not here with us. Like she was with Horacio. Like, and I feel like Horacio has just rubbed off on Nurys, which is a good thing because, Horacio is very wholesome and, a nice guy. But Nurys acted like she didn't want any smoke with Olivia. She didn't want nothing to do with a hall brawl. And when it came to the second round, there was an opportunity for Nurys to just literally stomp Olivia out and kick her right in her nose, in her face, and she didn't. And it was so disappointing because it was right. Like Olivia was dragging her leg and you could have like Nurys could have just easily kicked her like real quick. It didn't have to be too hard, but she could have just gave her a little fling, and she would have been able to been have like made space and get to the other side of it and make it a game. But Olivia was just a beast. Like after Nurys was dragging Olivia, then Olivia started dragging Nurys, and that was all she wrote. Um, Yeah, it doesn't take away from the Reese from last season, but I just think that her performance was disappointing, and I'm not sure what to expect from Nurys moving forward because I feel like she's just in La La Land with Horacio.
Yeah. Because like even they showed them like just canoodling in the house. And like it's just them like on the road, they're not doing much. And back in the day, if you're just doing that, you had a target on your back a bit too. So it's like you gotta learn how to balance it in the sense too in the house or like people who are like fighting for money. Like both y'all can't win, but like you guys have to expand your wings and be more in tune with the house. So I think that's a part of it that like now, oh, she has a guy, but she has to still play the game, and her head wasn't in it. And finally, we have Era 2 playing Take Shelter, and where you have to barricade the bunker and then undo your opponent's barricade. And it was really Laurel and Bananas yelling for KellyAnne, where then we had CT and Rachel yelling for Cara Maria. That was basically that, and then we just had Brandon and Ryan just there.
Yeah, Rachel. Well, CT, obviously is close with Cara. That's like his little sister. Rachel basically said she wanted Cara to come back because of the contention that Laurel and Cara will have moving forward, and that just won't be good for their team. So, I see that point of view, and I understand why she wanted to root for Cara. I just think that the two of them are strong women. Again, that era has the strongest women, so it was just gonna be a matter of who can get to it first. And Kellyanne had me rolling because she was like, "Oh, I went to a psychic, and she was telling me that I'm gonna be, going against a woman. Like I'm gonna be here for 5 weeks and all this other foolishness." And it's just like, what cards was that lady reading? Like I'm not sure. You need to go get your money back. Like you got scammed, mama. Like I don't know what she was telling you, but them stars and the moons was not star and the moon, babe. Kellyanne, you lost. So I mean, Cara, and it was so close to the point that it could have been anyone. Cara really got to it first. Kellyanne was right there, like her door was almost open, but Cara got to it, and I'm glad that she did because we need to see Cara on the season. I mean, I thought that Cara was gonna win because the trailer, certain things hadn't happened yet, so I already knew Cara was gonna still be there, but um, it still made for a good showing. As for the other side, Brandon, I have no words with you. You're also another person that I probably don't need to see come back because this is like all the time with Brandon. Like Brandon is 4 episode out. Like he not really trying to stay too long, even if it's not on purpose. But I was so confused at him being like, I'm doing this for my kids, I'm really, trying to make a trust for them and blah 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 and all this other stuff of his reason why he's doing this. And for him to move as slow as he was moving, it seemed like he really had no urgency. I don't know if that was just the edit, but he didn't seem to have any urgency. And Ryan, listen, Mr. Twink was moving, okay? Them freaking cement and the bags, like Ryan was picking that shit up. I said, oh shit. Listen, Ryan, you could squabble with me any day because the way you pick them shits up, like, bro, I was really utterly impressed with Ryan. I really thought Brandon was gonna win this because I just thought, Brandon was physically stronger, but nah,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan really got in his bag, and it was so funny because Derrick was like, "Yay, my girl won!" Da da da, and I'm just like, "Yo, not for nothing, Ryan really like came through on the clutch tip. Like, it was really impressive."
No, it really was. Cause like even when they were putting things together and they're in the takedown, Brandon was noticing, oh, Ryan's just like doing like when they're in the takedown, he's like, oh, Ryan just like ran to the side. I'm good. And then when you look at what Brandon did, he was doing a lot of random stuff, and then he just like threw sandbags and a big old log on the door. What made you think that that man would not get that through? Like you just put those sandbags right there and thought, oh, that'll be good. Ryan will have a long time to get through it. Baby, the way we saw Ryan just throw all that, I was like, you're done. Because even though what Ryan did on his side with how he had it on one end of the door, that was very intricate, and you was just doing whatever. So I knew once he did that, it was done. Like he was done for in Elimination.
Yeah, and sorry, not sorry. I'm not really upset to see you go just because he another one. Him and Leroy just don't come back. Like I want to root for y'all. Obviously, I want to root for y'all. You understand? I really want to root for y'all,
Yeah.
but y'all can't come back and keep having the performances that y'all having. Like I just it's not gonna work for me.
It's not. It because every time y'all disappoint us and y'all just there for the reputation, but like damn, this this come back harder and be mentally prepared and intact. So they sent the rest of the house back to the mansion, and they left the remaining cast of like the losers of the nation to basically say, "Hey," and like I said, like teacher was like, "Oh, how you treat people matters in this game," and it's taken a book out of what happened last season on All Stars, where at the end in the final they were giving their stars to the person that will win for an advantage, and that's what they're doing in a sense with these karma points with the rated players. And so they can rank them 1 to 10, 1 to 5, actually, sorry. A 5 being good, so that whoever they put those points towards, they gain advantage at some point in the game. And it was just funny seeing like people being petty and giving negative points. I thought they said 1 to 5. Why not give people negative points or 0? Because um Cory got negative, Laurel got negative, and then Brandon just gave Brian a 0. I was like, okay.
Yeah, really am interested to see how this comes to play in this season. I think that there's also a lot of other twists that we don't know that seem to be going to happen. So I'm definitely interested to see how this all plays out in terms of the final, or when it comes down to the last couple of teams and however it goes. I think this is definitely something to look out for. And I mean, do I think it's fair? I don't know. Like, it's basically you're voting on a popularity contest. And so, I mean, yeah, if people treat you right, you're going to vote for them well. But for the most part, this is a house in a situation where people have relationships built, whether good or bad. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
It's giving Big Brother. Like I think I mentioned it on right at the final last season that it's giving Big Brother because at the end of Big Brother, do you have like the jury that votes for the winner? And essentially, that's what that aspect of it is being put into this for this season and last season as well. So we'll see how that factors into everything that we met. But we're gonna get in some of the tweets from this episode, where some of them were very funny and a lot of harping on a lot of things. The first tweet I have: Bananas trying so hard to help KellyAnne in the elimination, and she still gave him a 1. Oh, that's mother. Because that was funny. Because like he was really like rooting for KellyAnne in elimination, all for that lady to give him a 1 at the end of the day.
I think he was more rooting against Cara than rooting for Kellyanne. Like, it's not
Yeah,
mutually exclusive, but yeah.
yeah. Um, Next one. If production had let Kitty light one up before TJ blew the horn like she did during her treadmill elimination, she honestly would have probably won. I don't know if she would have, but that would have been funny if she was allowed to do that.
I mean, again, she was trying her hardest to get that poll. I mean, shout out to Katie. It wasn't just a vacation, at least
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. This tweet is from Kyland. He said, "This house of all the Romeo and Juliet conversations from these window balconies, giving everyone a full show. It felt like that there, and I'm glad to see it still looks like that on TV too, because them arguments that they're having from that balcony, because that's where the rooms were, and people are just downstairs. I'm like, I was having these arguments that's right in the public for everybody to see."
The house was definitely a strange layout, to be honest, like with the rooms and everything. And I mean, even Amanda and Cory, when they were fighting, they literally did that in front of everyone when they were having dinner. Cara, Paulie, and Bananas having their fight. Literally, Bananas is yelling down at Paulie, and Paulie's just looking up, looking confused and dumb. It's just a lot going on. So I don't know. The house dynamic of the layout itself is just interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. Like I get like you need the biggest most space for 40 people, but it's a too much space and the layout is like crazy. The last tweet that I have, um, Devin trying so hard to invent a rivalry with Leroy when Leroy hadn't mentioned him once because Devin was harping on the fact that Leroy and Cam kind of like had like a hand in the season that they did together, but it's like, what did he actually do to you for you to have this one-sided rivalry?
This is nothing new to Devin. Devin always seems to have rivalries that really don't get any it don't really stem anywhere or get any farther. And I mean, why would you even want to have a rivalry with Leroy? I think he only wants to attach himself to Leroy because Leroy is attached to bananas. And I feel like he wants to be in that circle of people in that kind of connection. And it's just like, my God, that's not your lane. Like bananas and Leroy have an actual friendship, whether or not whether or not it should be the case, they actually have a friendship. So that's not your lane. Like just mind your business, essentially, and stop trying to make it fetch. Like just chill out.
Yep. And those are all the tweets from this week's episode.
Definitely an interesting one. I'm glad that it was a full episode of eliminations. Although, did we really need an hour 30 minutes of eliminations? Like, I don't know. But I think the editing in the flashbacks was cool, and I'm definitely excited to see how this season kicks off because now we're officially starting the season. The next week is the official start of how the season is going to go. So, we'll be back next week to discuss more of season 40. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can at Duel Alliance Pod. You can follow us individually on Twitter. You can follow Megan at Megs and Hines, and you can follow myself at Ace_S5. If you are listening to this podcast, you can watch this on YouTube at Duel Alliance Podcast. And we'll be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. Peace out.
Bye.